Welcome back to our channel, true crime enthusiasts. I'm John Garfield. In March 2003, President George W. Bush issued a stark ultimatum to Saddam Hussein and his regime: leave Iraq within 48 hours or face the consequences of war.
Saddam Hussein and his sons must leave Iraq within 48 hours. Their refusal to do so will result in military conflict, commenced at a time of our choosing. For their own safety, all foreign nationals, including journalists and inspectors, should leave Iraq immediately.
This demand stemmed from accusations of weapons of mass destruction and ties to terrorism, claims that later proved unfounded. Saddam, the iron-fisted leader who had ruled Iraq since 1979, dismissed it defiantly, sealing his fate. And as you all know, the U.S.-led invasion swiftly toppled his government. Saddam went into hiding, but in December 2003, he was captured in a spider hole near Tikrit, disheveled and defeated.
قررت المحكمة الحكم على المدان صدام حسين المجيد بالإعدام شنقا حتى الموت لارتكاب الشعب كجريمة ضد الإنسانية وفق المادة 12 أولا بدلالة المادة 12 أولا ثانيا.
After a controversial trial for crimes against humanity, including the 1982 Dujail massacre, he was sentenced to death and executed by hanging on December 30, 2006, at dawn in Baghdad. The scene unfolded amid sectarian tensions, taunts from Shia guards chanting Muqtada, Saddam's calm recitation of the Shahada, and a leaked cell phone video that shocked the world. The execution was rife with eerie details, like Saddam's unexpected rapport with his American guards, gifting a watch and shedding tears in farewell, and wild theories. Was he drugged to stay composed? Did a body double take his place? Or was the timing during Eid al-Adha a deliberate humiliation? In today's video, join me as we revisit those final moments of Saddam Hussein's execution, one of the most historic and haunting in modern times. But here's the lingering question. Did his death bring justice to Iraq, or did it unleash even greater chaos? Don't forget to like, share this video with your friends, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe for more deep dives. Now, let's dive into the main point of this video today. To understand clearly why Saddam Hussein's execution became such a flashpoint in history, let's look back at the man himself, his rise from a dusty village to absolute power, and the blood that stained every step. He entered the world on April 27, 1937, in a mud brick house in Al-Ajah, a small village near Tikrit. Father died before he was born. Mother remarried a man who beat him, forced him to steal sheep. At age 10, he ran away to live with an uncle in Baghdad. That uncle pushed him into politics. By 1957, at 20 years old, Saddam joined the Ba'ath Party, a group bent on Arab unity and socialism. 2 years later, in 1959, he took part in an assassination attempt on Prime Minister Abdul Karim Qasim. Shots fired in the street. Saddam got hit in the leg, pulled the bullet out with a knife while hiding in a field. He fled to Syria, then Egypt. Back in Iraq by 1963 after a Ba'ath coup. But power flipped again. Arrested in 1964, he spent 2 years in prison, plotted escapes, read books on Stalin, broke out in 1966, helped orchestrate the 1968 coup that put his cousin Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr in charge. Saddam became vice president that same year. He built the security apparatus, secret police, informants everywhere. Then, in 1979, he forced al-Bakr out, called a party meeting in a Baghdad hall. Stood at the podium, smoked a cigar, read names from a list. Armed men dragged out 68 members, half executed on the spot, the rest later. Saddam took the presidency. Statues went up, portraits in every home. Power secured, wars began. September 22, 1980. Iraqi tanks rolled into Iran. 8 years dragged on. Soldiers dug trenches, lobbed shells. Over 1 million dead, bodies piled in no man's land. Saddam ordered chemical weapons, mustard gas, sarin, dropped on Iranian lines, then turned inward. 1986 to 1989, the Anfal campaign against the Kurds. Villages bombed, wells poisoned. Troops rounded up men, women, children, shot them in pits, buried alive. Estimates hit 100,000 gone. One village, Halabja, March 16, 1988. Planes flew low, released clouds of gas. People choked in the streets, foam at the mouth. 5,000 dead that day, bodies curled in doorways, babies in cribs. August 2, 1990, invaded Kuwait, claimed it as Iraq's 19th province. Oil fields seized. 7 months later, U.S.-led forces pushed back in the Gulf War. Saddam's army retreated, torched wells, skies black for months. Defeat sparked uprisings. Shia in the south rose up. Kurds in the north. Saddam crushed them. Helicopter gunships strafed crowds. Marshes drained to expose rebels. Thousands executed, dumped in mass graves. Earlier in 1982, after an assassination attempt in Dujail, a Shia town, he sent forces in. Houses raided at dawn. 148 men and boys lined up, shot or hanged. Families deported to the desert. That Dujail massacre became the hook for his death sentence years later. Under his rule, torture chambers hummed, basements in Baghdad palaces, electric shocks, acid baths. Political opponents vanished. Sons Uday and Qusay ran their own horrors. Uday fed people to lions at his zoo. Regime built on fear, personality cult. Billboards showed Saddam with a rifle smiling, but oil money flowed. Schools built, literacy rates climbed to 80%, hospitals stocked, roads paved. Women entered universities, jobs. He positioned himself as the Arab defender against Iran, against Israel, against the West. Was he the shield that kept Iraq stable? Some Sunnis said yes. Held back Shia extremists, Kurdish separatists, modernized a backwater nation, electricity to villages, dams on rivers, stood up to America, embodied Arab pride. Oil revenues hit peaks. Economy boomed before sanctions, kept ISIS-like groups from rising, iron fist on radicals. Or was he the butcher who wrecked it all? Critics pointed to pointless wars, drained the treasury. Genocide on Kurds, recognized by courts later. Shia massacres deepened divides. Post-2003, his fall let chaos in, sectarian killings, ISIS born from the ashes. U.S. invasion cited his crimes, but some saw hypocrisy. America armed him in the 80s against Iran. What drove a boy from a hut to order gas on his own people? How did oil build schools while funding graves? Did stability justify the pits of bodies? These splits, Sunni versus Shia, Arab nationalists versus human rights, framed his legacy, a tangle of progress and terror that set Iraq on edge. And this foundation cracks open the door to what followed, the invasion that toppled him, the manhunt through spider holes, and whispers of body doubles that still echo in the shadows ahead. Now, coming to the most important part of today's video, let's look back at what happened during the 2003 invasion that pushed Saddam Hussein to the brink of collapse and led him to the death sentence. I turned my attention to March 20th, 2003, when U.S.-led coalition forces launched the attack on Iraq. Planes streaked over Baghdad at night. Bombs lit up the skyline. Ground troops crossed the border from Kuwait. The stated reasons: eliminate weapons of mass destruction and topple the dictator. Searches later turned up nothing. No WMV stockpiles. Critics called it a pretext, a cover for regime change. Saddam appeared on TV that first day reading a poem urging resistance. Missiles hit his palaces. Power grids failed. Streets emptied as families huddled in basements. By April 9, the regime crumbled. U.S. Marines rolled into Baghdad. Crowds gathered in Firdos Square, looped a rope around a massive Saddam statue, pulled it down with a tank. Head dragged through dust. Looters hit ministries, papers scattered, fires burned records. Saddam vanished, last seen in a convoy leaving the capital. Intelligence reports placed him in Mosul, then Ramadi. Coalition set up a most wanted list. Saddam as the ace of spades on playing cards handed to troops. Rewards posted, $25 million for his capture. Informants started whispering, raids kicked indoors at night, but he slipped away each time. Then July 22 hit. Tip came in about his sons, Uday and Qusay, holed up in a Mosul villa. U.S. Special Forces surrounded the place at dawn. Gunfire erupted from windows. Troops called in helicopters. Rockets slammed the building. 4 hours later, they breached. Bodies inside. Uday, Qusay, a teenage grandson, a bodyguard, all dead in the rubble. Photos released to confirm, faces swollen, beards trimmed post-mortem. Saddam heard the news on the run. He released an audio tape days later. The infidels killed my sons. Voice steady, but the net tightened, his inner circle shrank. Loyalists hid him in farms, moved him by car under cover of dark. From there, the manhunt intensified. Saddam bounced between safe houses near Tikrit, his tribal homeland. He grew a beard, carried a Glock pistol and $750,000 in cash, avoided phones, relied on couriers, issued more tapes. Fight the occupiers, broadcast on Al Jazeera. U.S. forces analyzed voices, tracked signals, interrogated captured officials. One broke. A former bodyguard pointed to patterns. Raids hit dozens of sites. Troops dug up backyards, probed walls. Saddam dug in deeper, literally. He rotated spider holes, narrow pits with air vents, hidden under palm groves. What kept him one step ahead for 8 months? Was it tribal loyalty or fear of his revenge? How did audio tapes slip out without a trace? December 13, 2003, Operation Red Dawn launched near Ad-Dar, a farm area outside Tikrit. Intelligence from a detainee led there. Soldiers arrived at dusk, searched 2 farmhouses empty, then spotted a rug on the ground, out of place. Pulled it back, a styrofoam lid over a hole. Flashlights down, a man crouched inside, hands up. "I am Saddam Hussein," he said. "I am the president of Iraq and I want to negotiate." Troops yanked him out. Beard wild, hair matted, clothes dirty. No resistance. Medics checked scars from the 1959 wound. Dental records matched. Images flashed global. The once mighty leader, now a ragged figure emerging from a pit like a rat. Handover happened fast. U.S. forces flew into Baghdad. DNA tests confirmed. He sat in a cell at Camp Cropper near the airport. Guards noted his routine. Garden tomatoes, read the Quran. Interrogators questioned him for hours. "You are occupiers," he told them. No remorse shown. Iraqis took custody soon after, but Americans kept watch. The capture sparked celebrations in Shia areas, fireworks, chants. Sunnis mourned quietly. Violence spiked, bombings targeted coalition. His fall exposed fractures, sectarian lines drawn deeper. Did the son's deaths break his network? Why choose a hole near his birthplace, sentiment or strategy? How close were earlier raids? And this chase uncovers the path to the courtroom battles ahead. Rig trials, shouts from the dock, and execution whispers that hid darker plots still waiting in the files. In this case, there's a truth that once we had him in custody, the next question was how to deal with Saddam Hussein. Given the sensitive nature of his status and the political backdrop, mishandling it, especially with U.S. involvement, could lead to massive fallout in terms of sectarian violence and global credibility. So what went down? Let's dive in together. I shifted focus to July 2004 when the Iraqi Special Tribunal kicked off. Set up in Baghdad's Green Zone, fortified like a bunker, U.S. advisors hovered in the background, trained judges, funded operations. Saddam shuffled into court in chains. First appearance, stood before Judge Ray Juhi. Charges read out, crimes against humanity, genocide, war crimes. He gripped the cage bars. "I am the president of Iraq," he said. "This court is illegal." Prosecutors stacked files high. The main case centered on Dujail, 1982, those 148 Shia executions after the assassination try. Witnesses lined up. One described raids. Doors kicked in at 3 a.m., families pulled into trucks, men blindfolded and driven to pits. Hearings dragged through 2005, Saddam in a dark suit each time, sat with half-brothers, former aides. Defense lawyers argued back. 3 assassinated mid-trial, shot in drive-bys, bodies dumped on roads. The replacement judge stepped in after the first resigned, citing pressure. Evidence piled, documents from regime archives, survivor testimonies. A woman from Dujail took the stand. "They took my husband and sons," she said. "Never saw them again," Saddam interrupted often. "Lies," he shouted. Cross-examinations turned chaotic. He boycotted sessions, showed up with a Quran under arm. By October 2005, the Dujail trial hit full stride. Prosecutors showed photos, mass graves unearthed, bones scattered. Defense claimed legitimate response to attack, Iranian agents involved. Other cases loomed. Anfal campaign against Kurds, 1986-1989. Partial hearings started. Witnesses from Halabja villages testified. Gas clouds rolled in, one said. People dropped in the streets, eyes burned out. But proceedings cut short. Focus stayed on Dujail. November 5, 2006, verdict day. The courtroom was packed. Judge Rizgar Amin read the sentence, "Guilty, death by hanging." Saddam stood straight. "Down with the invaders," he yelled. "God is great." Appeals filed fast. Rejected December 26. Critics circled from the start. Fairness questioned. New Shia-led government ran the show, judges mostly Shia Kurds. Independence? Lacking, said observers. U.S. influence clear, embedded legal teams, security provided. Saddam called it victor's justice. Amnesty International blasted the process. Flawed from day one, their report stated. No transparency, closed sessions, evidence withheld. Death penalty drew fire. Human Rights Watch noted rushed appeals, no time for full defense. Political angles sharpened debates. Trial seen as whitewash for 2003 invasion. WMD? Never found, yet U.S. pushed regime change. Flashback. America backed Saddam in the 1980s, sold him arms against Iran. Hypocrisy hung thick. Reactions split clean. Shia victims cheered in streets, fireworks over Basra. Kurds in Erbil waved flags. Justice for Halabja, signs read. Sunnis seethed. Protests in Tikrit, tires burned. Chants of martyr, saw it as sectarian revenge. Sunni leader taken down by Shia court. Broader legacy tangled. Anti-Amitrial symbol for some Arabs, butcher for others. Divides deepened, Sunni-Shia rifts widened. Anti-U.S. sentiment boiled. Was the tribunal truly impartial, or just a stage for winners? Why rush Dujail over bigger atrocities like Anfal? Did U.S. fingerprints taint every ruling? How much did old alliances like 1980's support undermine claims of justice? And these courtroom echoes lead straight to the final dawn, last meals in cells, helicopter rides at midnight, and execution theories that twist through hidden videos and body double whispers waiting ahead. Now everything had been settled for Saddam Hussein. The verdict stood. The appeals ran out. So let's walk together through those final hours, right up to the drop of the trap door, and face the lingering question that still floats in some corners. Did he really die that morning? Or is something else still hidden? I pulled the timeline tight to December 29, 2006. Saddam sat inside the Rock, his cell block at Camp Cropper near Baghdad Airport. U.S. military police from the Super 12 detail guarded him. They brought in his last meal, lobster tails, rice, bread. He ate slowly, then he talked, joked with the guards, called them family, handed over his wristwatch, a pen, small items. "Take these," he said. "You have been good to me." The soldiers later said he stayed calm, almost friendly. One guard broke his small radio so Saddam wouldn't hear the news leaking out. They wanted to control the moment. Around 3:00 a.m. on December 30, the door opened. An Iraqi official stepped in. "It's time," he said. Saddam stood up without a word. He walked to the shower stall in the corner, washed himself, dried off, chose a dark suit from the few clothes left, sprayed cologne on his neck and wrists, folded his prayer mat, said goodbye to the American guards, shook hands. Eyes filled with tears for a second. Then he turned away. No struggle, no begging. They moved him out under heavy guard. Helicopter blades chopped the dark sky, lifted off from the base, landed at a secure pad. Armored vehicles waited. Convoy rolled through empty streets to Camp Justice in Kadimia, his old Mukhabarat headquarters, now turned execution site. Iron gates clanged shut behind them. At 5:45 a.m., Iraqi officials took custody. Muwaffaq al-Rubaiyeh, national security advisor, stood at the front. They read the death warrant aloud. Saddam held a Quran in his left hand, refused the black hood when offered. "I don't need it," he said. Walked up the wooden steps to the gallows. Noose waited. Thick rope knotted. Guards flanked him on both sides. Some started chanting, "Muqtada," name of the Shia cleric whose militia fought U.S. forces. Saddam looked down at them. "Is this how real men act?" he asked, voice steady. Then he began the Shahada. "There is no God but Allah." Twice, clear, calm. At 6:05 a.m., the trap door snapped open. Body dropped, rope jerked tight. He swung once, twice. Legs kicked a few times, then stilled. Doctor stepped forward after 9 minutes, checked pulse at the neck. No beat. Pronounced dead at 6:14. Sheet wrapped the body, carried out, loaded onto a helicopter, flown to a U.S. base for final checks, then handed to family. buried that afternoon in Al-Ajah, his birthplace, under concrete to stop desecration. Timing hit hard. Execution fell on the first day of Eid al-Adha, the Muslim feast of sacrifice. Many Sunnis saw it as deliberate insult, mockery of a holy day. Hours later, a grainy cell phone video leaked, showed the chants, the taunts, the drop, spread across Iraq like fire. Riots broke out in Sunni neighborhoods. Mosques called for revenge. Bombings spiked. Sectarian killings jumped in the weeks that followed. Space opened for groups like Al-Qaeda in Iraq to grow, later became ISIS. Syria started almost immediately. Some claimed a body double took the noose. Saddam had stand-ins for years, they said. Look at the beard, too gray. DNA tests matched. Scars from the 1959 shooting lined up. Dental records confirmed. Official reports shut it down. Others whispered he got sedatives to stay so calm. Guards who watched him that morning said no. He was sharp, one told investigators. Eyes clear, no slurring. Conspiracy talk kept going. He escaped before dawn, swapped out, or the Americans faked the whole thing to close the chapter. No hard proof ever surfaced. Did the guards really see tears, or was it just sweat? Why refuse the hood, defiance, or show for the cameras? Was the Eid timing careless or calculated to send a message? How did that phone video get out so fast in a lockdown facility? After everything, we will not stand here and judge whether that morning brought justice or revenge. The rope that ended one life carried inside it the weight of a nation's entire history, decades of wars, gas clouds over villages, mass graves under desert sand, and the chaos that followed when the statues fell. This story is not about one man alone. It is about what happens when power turns into fear, when wars are sold as solutions, when violence answers violence and the cycle spins on. Today, looking at headlines from the region, the same patterns flicker again. Bombs in markets, families fleeing, leaders promising security through force. The losses pile up quietly. Children without fathers, homes turned to rubble, generations carrying scars they never asked for. This video ends here. If this account meant something to you, if it made you pause, hit like and share it with someone else. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What stays with you after hearing this? Subscribe if you want more stories laid out plain, no filter. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.